Hey, this is Lou Mangello from WDW Radio, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Let's do this.
The tangents this week continue all the way to episode 173 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And you thought Doctor Who got all wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. The Doctor ain't got nothing on Coulson and crew. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week. We go to the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
Oh, this is Brittany. In space.
This is Chrissy. In space and time.
This is Holly. In space and time.
And
where are we again?
Yeah, really. And this is Rachel, and I think I'm stuck in the monolith. Oh my goodness. Hi, people.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
We're having all sorts of technical issues, so...
apologies in advance if something goes completely wonky.
If you're hearing this either on YouTube or in your podcast feed, then yay for us.
Yes. Yep.
If the public is hearing this, then yay.
We made it through. The message came through.
Yes.
Isn't it wonderful?
I need Enoch or something. Oh my goodness. This is all sorts of... Anyway. But we've got sound. It's recording. It seems to be working. So we're going to run with it. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Indeed.
Yeah. Alrighty then. Well, with that...
Oh.
Jump into... See, even Alex is upset.
Yeah. He's had a rough couple of days, that's all. Anyway, news!
Let's jump into news first with some... as my phone starts ringing. Decline. Alrighty then. Ignore that. We don't want to get to this 10 o'clock news that popped up like right as we hopped onto Skype. So anyway, so yes, we have to start with some 10 o'clock news. It's so 10 o'clock, I haven't even had a chance to get into the show notes yet. So John Mahoney, who played the oh so curmudgeonly, lovable patriarch on Frasier, has passed away. He played Martin Crane.
And you wouldn't have thought that Niles and
Frasier.
The name Frasier were related.
Yeah, because he was a cop. He was very blue collar. He was, watching football, kind of appropriate, all things considered. But watching football and drinking beer and sitting in his recliner with Eddie the dog, and meanwhile Frasier and Niles are off to the opera and off to the symphony and drinking all sorts of good vintage wines with the, very sophisticated. It's like the apple went really far from the tree. In that case, but yeah, he was a kind of good source of comic relief. Just because he didn't quite understand his sons. And they didn't quite understand him. So, but they all loved each other.
Yes.
So, Frasier's one of those. It's Chauncey's watched it. My mom watched it. I remember watching it when it was on TV. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a good show. So.
Yes.
But very, very sad to hear of his passing. All right. Let's move on to more happy things. First, some convention announcements, or I guess announcement, but still. Indie PopCon, and this is the other one I was sitting on, besides the Jason David Frank and Jason font. I can claim foreknowledge of this one. After this, I know nothing. But so
you know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yes, exactly. How appropriate. So yeah, Kristen.
Yes, you may drink and you may know things.
Yeah, Kristen Nairn, aka Hodor, is actually returning to PopCon. He was actually at the first PopCon, I believe. It's been so long. It's been 5 years. Or 4 years. How long has it been since PopCon started? It's been a while. I've slept since then. I've had surgery since then. We're going to blame it on that. Anyway, Hodor is coming to PopCon. So, and he may, I'm sure they're probably still working on things, but beyond just, your usual, convention guest things, panels, photo ops, autographs, those sort of things, he may be utilizing his other talents for PopCon, possibly, maybe. If you go and look at the picture that they have posted and what they say as far as, what you may know him as, that may tip you off just a little, so. But you didn't hear that from me.
She knows nothing.
I know nothing.
She told to all of our audience members, everyone that's downloading and listening to this.
Yeah.
just a secret.
I know nothing.
Just between us chickens.
Exactly.
Some very interesting reading.
Yeah. Anyway, but I'm excited because I wasn't watching Game of Thrones yet when he came the first time, so.
So
this
now
time I'll actually know who he is, so yay!
And now you can go and you don't know if you want to cry or laugh.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I'm
is true.
slightly afraid to see how many Hodor jokes are going to be.
A lot, I'm sure. I'm sure he has heard them all.
Yeah.
No, I will not make any references to holding the door. Thank you very much. I'll just go tear. Forward out for Hodor. Anyway, but that's exciting to have him returning to Indianapolis. So, and then we've got a good handful of trailers. This first one actually has nothing to do with the Super Bowl yesterday because this actually came out last week.
Yep. This one is like, we want to get ahead of the Super Bowl hype.
Yes, just a little. So we got our first trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp. So just a little reminder. That's the third Marvel movie we're getting this year. And I know everyone's hyped up for Black Panther. Next week, Black Panther comes out next week as we're recording this, which is very exciting. I'm totally down for some Black Panther.
Oh, whoa, it is next week.
I know. I know.
It's coming out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, next week. Next Friday. Black Panther.
Hope y'all got your tickets.
Yeah, really.
Or whatever.
It sold out fast, apparently.
Yeah.
It's like the fastest.
Well,
big deal.
Plus, it's in February. I mean, February is kind of an off month usually for movies.
There's not really
so it's like,
else.
hey, we actually need something fun to watch. Hey, Marvel's got something. Black Panther. Let's go see that.
Yeah. So, and then there's that little, Infinity War movie that's coming out in May. But don't forget, after Infinity War, we're getting Ant-Man and the Wasp. Which is awesome.
Isn't that long of a wait afterwards?
No, it comes out in July.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, they are.
Yeah.
They are.
It is like, it's like Marvel right now. So it's not that I'm complaining, but Star Wars in there too.
Yeah, then another little Star Wars movie in between.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But yeah, so Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is, it's funny because if you didn't know the order that these movies are getting released and just watch the trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp, you would think that it was coming out before Infinity War, because the way they cut this first trailer, and it's obvious they had to cut it for that reason, because it looks like it picks up right after Civil War.
Yeah, because that would I was watching it. Same thing. I had to think about it. It's like, I know it comes out later than Infinity War, but maybe they have. I mean, maybe they mention, maybe it's meant to reference stuff that happens in Infinity War, but they obviously don't want to spoil it yet.
Exactly.
Which is kind of weird that, like, okay, Black Panther hasn't come out yet, but Infinity War is referencing stuff the Infinity War trailers are referencing stuff in Black Panther. Ant-Man and the Wasp could be referencing stuff in Infinity War, and it's sort of like, it can be a little confusing, I have to admit.
Yeah.
You have to think about it some.
Yeah. It's
the marketing department's got to be on their toes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Not to mention the continuity people.
Yeah.
That too.
That too. It's like we're 10 years in, people. Don't screw up the continuity now.
Let's not do any oopsies spoilers in trailers.
That too.
Yeah,
that could ruin things.
When
you have things like they ship DVDs out early or something, but in the trailers during the super.
Yeah. So I would suspect that, like, the TV promos and the TV spots and stuff after Infinity War for Ant-Man and the Wasp will probably reference things that happened in Infinity War. But right now, it's like, you kind of have to cut anything you see that if it potentially spoils anything in Infinity War, you gotta, like, nope. Embargo. Nada. So, it looks like it comes right after Civil War. It's like the fallout from Civil War,
There's that thing with the thing, but we can't mention that thing because of this thing.
Exactly. So it's like, I watched and I'm like, kind of squinted and tilted my head for a second, and I'm like, we're going to avoid any Infinity War spoilers. Yes, I guess that's the way we got to do things. So, okay.
Although maybe this one does come after Infinity War. Maybe they're pulling a Guardians where Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out, and it takes place, mere months after the first one ends. But
it's possible, but I don't. I guess
I don't know.
I think that would just be. Yeah, I think that would just confuse people. Going and seeing Infinity War in May, and then going back to the theaters in July, and then watch something that happened before what they just saw 2 months before.
True.
So
true enough.
Yeah, because Marvel knows what they're doing, so I'm not really gonna question it. But it's just, I find it kind of funny just how, like, kind of, it almost seems like it's out of place in the continuity. But I'm sure that's a lot of, we got to give you something. But we can't spoil anything for the movie that comes before it. So here's what you're getting. You're getting giant Pez dispenser. That's what you're getting.
That was funny.
Giant Pez dispenser.
You think that the Thomas the Tank Engine in the first one, that was, you think that was funny, and then then you give us a Pez dispenser.
Yes.
Like, okay, guys.
Yeah.
Nicely played.
Yep.
Indeed.
Yep. Anyway, so Ant-Man and the Wasp, exciting. Down. Yeah, take my money. I'm ready. Already. But yeah, the Super Bowl was yesterday. For anyone that cares about sports ball, I don't. But with the Super Bowl comes Super Bowl commercials. There were some kind of funny commercials. But, that's whatever. But trailers, because that's a thing now, is the Super Bowl. It used to be people were just excited about, the Old Spice commercial or Pepsi or whoever. But now, like, dropping trailers is now a thing for the Super Bowl. So...
because everyone's already watched all the good ads because they're on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So most of the ads were already up, last week. So what's funny is that this first one is we got a teaser yesterday during the Super Bowl, and then we got the full teaser today. So we got like a 30-second teaser yesterday and then like almost a 2-minute teaser today. So but yeah, now we have our first, and this was kind of like the worst kept secret in Hollywood. Everyone was expecting this to happen. We got our first look at Solo, a Star Wars story. So the Han Solo origin movie, or whatever you want to call it. We've got footage. It looks cool. It looks like Star Wars. The music is there. We've got Chewie. We've got Lando looking like a 70s pimp in that fur coat, and it's fabulous.
Okay, so the first time Lando, it was like just a split second scene of him, because it's a teaser trailer that they don't give too much away. And I look at it, blink and you miss. My brain was like, "Oh yeah, that's totally young Billy D. Williams. How'd they get that?" I'm like, wait a minute, that's not, that's Lando from the '70s.
Yeah,
and, obviously it's not Billy D. Williams, it's Donald Glover, but it's still like, wow, good job, casting department and costuming and makeup and all those other great things. So, at least we know they got the look right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still, I've got to watch the trailer a couple more times. I haven't got to see it too much. I'm still kind of not seeing this guy as a young Han Solo, but I admit that I still want to go back and look at it some more. So there's room for him to win me over.
Yeah.
But I am cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. The teaser that came out last night, and I watched it, once it hit the internet almost immediately after it being on TV. I never even saw it on TV. I did not watch the game. I watched the halftime show, but I did not watch the game.
I didn't watch any of it. I heard about this.
Yeah, I was just catching the trailers as people were commenting about them on Facebook. So people were like, Solo, and I'm like, okay, play. Repeat on YouTube. So it's like the little teaser. I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting," because they cut it. This teaser, it was like Han Solo signing up for the Academy with the Empire, essentially. And I'm like, okay, that's where we're going. And then we get the teaser today where he's like, I got kicked out. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. He just wants to be a pilot, and I'm guessing that the Empire was his best bet to get his hands on some decent equipment, and Han Solo being Han Solo, he gets kicked out. So I'm like, yeah, that makes more sense.
I think regardless of what Academy you're talking about, Empire or otherwise, Han Solo's going to get kicked out, and it's going to be a good character moment for him. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So, but we got these fabulous character sheets, with, for your main cast. So you've got Han Solo, you got one for Chewie, and I forgot, you wouldn't think Chewie would be that different. But he is, because like the fur, you can tell it's a brighter compared to the Chewie now, where it's like he's kind of gray. You can tell he's aged.
And he's a little bit thinner.
Yeah, he's a little thinner. Yeah,
not as bulkier.
Yeah, we all put on a little weight as we get older. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking more muscle.
Sure,
well, that too.
Wookiees are no different.
So, some people put on muscle, some of us put on wear. Anyway.
That's life.
Yeah. You've got young Lando. You've got, I'm not entirely sure how there seem to be some, people have some difference of opinion on how to pronounce, what's her face's name or character's name. Brain fart. What's her face from Game of Thrones?
Emilia Clarke?
Yes, Emilia Clarke. Yeah. Her character's name.
Yeah.
So.
Begins with a Q and has an apostrophe
yeah,
in
it's
between.
spelled interesting, so it's like it's a Star Warsy name.
Star Wars for you, though.
So, yeah. So.
See that? Or sci-fi in general.
Well, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
and Woody Harrelson's character looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, which we don't know.
We saw.
we don't know who he's playing yet, so I don't think so. I don't think they've divulged who Woody's character name is yet, so it could be interesting. It could be interesting. So I mean, it's more Star Wars, so I'm not really gonna complain a whole lot. So
oh no,
nope.
It should be interesting. So there's that, and then we got a new trailer for Jurassic World, which creepy.
Yeah.
Dinosaur hunting you in your bed. Hello.
Oh boy.
All sorts. That's it. I watched this trailer and I'm like, okay, this is like a completely different movie than the first trailer we got. Like the characters are there. Like there's Chris Pratt, but this is not the same as what was advertised. It's like the first one. It's like they're gonna go back to the island and try to save some of the dinosaurs before it blows up, and now it's like there's a genetically modified lab created dinosaur that's hunting people in their house. Like, what is this?
Well, and then the one car commercial, I'm just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is this another trailer for the Jurassic Park movie?
Yeah, I know, the Jeep commercial with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, so it's like,
well, he's supposed to be in this next movie, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
but it's just funny
okay.
that, yeah. You know, it's this
like,
Jeep commercial. He's like, dinosaurs chasing him, and then he gets behind the dinosaur. He's like, how do you like it now, buddy? And then you find out he's actually in the showroom at a Jeep dealership, and the lady's like, would you like to take it for a test drive? He's like, I already did.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I love it. That's awesome. So, but yeah, Jurassic World, I guess we'll see what happens. It's almost like Jurassic Park beats Jurassic. Which one's the one where they're like the dinosaurs are in like New York? Is that 2 or 3?
The Lost World.
The Lost World. That was 2.
Yeah, but
yeah.
San Diego.
San Diego. Some city. So I've only ever seen the first one completely. So bear with me here.
I'm the same way.
I know there was one, and it's loose in a city, and there's an egg or something, and I caught bits. It's the way I've been with this entire franchise is I've caught bits of it, and I'm not sure exactly which movie it is I'm watching. So,
but me, I grew up on all of them, and
yeah,
the second one they always say is no one really likes it, but I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I enjoy it too.
Yeah, but anyway, but yeah, you get dinosaur, hunting people in their house. It's like, it's a little bit of 1 mixed with 2, maybe, kind of, I don't know. We'll find out. So, and then we got a short little TV spot, like 30, it's short, it's like 30-second, little 30-second TV spot for Infinity War. And normally something like that I would not bring up, but the fact that there are clips in it that we haven't seen yet, is why I mention it. So we've got Thor and Rocket.
Yeah.
Like,
and Groot is in the he's in the front seat of the thing and playing. It looks like he's like playing a video game or something. And they're all looking really serious and like something's going on, and Groot's just like, nah, I got Candy Crush on here or whatever.
Yeah. So It looks so good. I'm so excited. just a tiny little spot, and I'm like, oh yes, please.
And I love how it's only 30 seconds, but it's already been broken down, and people posting screenshots like, "Oh look, this has been confirmed." Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I haven't read the comics.
Yeah. Well, some of it you don't even necessarily have to have read the comics. I'm like, like you see like Peter Parker with his current Spider-Man suit, the one from Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see him in the Iron Spider yet, and that one when he pulls his mask off, which you could probably safely assume that probably takes place like right after the bit where we see him on the bus with all of his schoolmates, and he probably had that Spider-Man suit like in his backpack ready to go just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we see Cap with his new shield.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
Some Wakanda tech, probably from Black Panther's sister, more than likely, because she's like, the Wakandan Tony Stark, apparently. So she's like this big tech genius. So I'm guessing that's where Cap's shield probably comes from. So yeah, just like, it's 30 seconds, but I watch it like 4 times in a row. So good. So excited. I'm like so hyped up on Marvel right now. I finished getting caught up on the Black Panther. I can't say red carpet. I mean, technically it was a red carpet, but the carpet was purple, so technically it's a purple carpet. But you know what I mean, the metaphorical red carpet from a couple weeks ago, because I wasn't home when it was actually live, because they live streamed those, so I ended up watching it after the fact on YouTube, and finally finished it earlier today, and I'm like, yes, Black Panther next week, so excited. Like, the Marvel hype is real. So excited. Anyway, so those were the notable trailers that came from the Super Bowl that we care about, because I'm pretty sure none of us really care about Mission Impossible 264. So.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I mean, I saw the last one just because I think a bunch of friends were going, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And it was okay. I mean, I'm not really that well versed in it.
Yeah, I stopped after the second one. I'm like, yeah, no, whatever.
I think I've only seen the one with.
Well, the first one's the best one.
I've seen like parts of that one, but the one can't remember. The one with Hawkeye.
Oh, that was the last one.
No, the one, Jeremy Renner.
He came out. I can't remember the name of it either. It's the one where Tom Cruise is hanging off the side of a plane.
That may have been Ghost Protocol.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ghost Protocol. That's the one I.
Yeah. See, I couldn't remember the title of it either.
Yeah. I just remember everyone talking about it. It's like Mission Impossible.
Shadow Proclamation. I'm like, no, that's not it.
Yeah. No. I just remember everyone talking about it. It's like Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Tom Cruise scales a skyscraper. He actually does it. It's not a stunt double. It's actually him. So.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I remember, is because that's all everyone could talk about. It's like, oh my God, Tom Cruise is climbing a building. Good for him. Can't pay me enough to do it. Anyway. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's it for news. Housekeeping. The poll for book club is up for March.
Yep, for March. The Steeler Dreams.
Okay.
Is February's book. That is a Ninth Doctor and Rose book.
Okay. Cool.
All right, folks, get to reading.
Yep.
Okay.
And come join us on the Traveling the Vortex Goodreads Book Club.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That we run for our brother podcast. If you haven't heard of it lately, we pick a Doctor Who book every month and read it. Go comment at the book club. It's pretty simple, straightforward, and you vote on the books that we're going to read every month. So it's chosen by the users, more or less. I mean, there's a gazillion books.
It is an executive decision where, yep, I picked the book for the month, but more often than not, there is a poll.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes you have like ties, so
In that case, Mario and Coco are the tiebreakers. So.
Yep.
Yes. Or if the guys want to specifically review something.
Exactly. Yep.
We do that. But
yep.
So come join us at the book club, and you can participate as much or as little as you want, but it's always a good time no matter what you decide to do.
Yep.
And if there's books that you see that we have on the bookshelf that we've read and you want to discuss, those discussion links are not closed. Those threads are open, so feel free to generate discussion that way too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we get, the depending on how you set your notifications, you will see that, or people will see that, hey, so-and-so commented on this discussion, and so it goes out like that. And there was actually quite a nice little thread going on. Someone seems like they're new to the club. I believe her name's Elizabeth, so hello if you're listening. Was asking about books to start from, and I was actually at work when that popped up and was kind of slow, so I was like, okay, what have I read that I really liked? And I know I've read a lot of Doctor Who books, and I didn't have my whole list there, but I threw a few titles up there. So like, here's where you get started if you so choose.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So people go add to that conversation if you feel so inclined.
Yeah. It's
always fun when people participate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of participation, we have got a lot of feedback. So
yes,
not a lot of news.
I know I saw that. I'm like,
I
didn't know musicals brought
I know
all the feedbackers out. So hi guys.
Stirred up the our listeners to feel compelled to send in some feedback, and this is so we got 3 pieces of feedback, and these are just in the order that we received them. So that's the way we're doing things. So first is from Shalane, Chrissy's sister. So hers is actually the shortest of the 3. So she says, for me, I'm all into musicals. I've loved them since I saw Phantom of the Opera on Broadway. And when I was in musicals back in high school. Her favorites are The Phantom of the Opera, Wicked, Hamilton, Roger and Hammerstein, Cinderella, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, The King and I, and Finding Neverland, which those are all good choices. She said some I haven't seen, but on my that are on my list. But I've listened to the soundtracks of them and love them, which that's perfectly fine. Like we said, you can't always get to a musical, but you can always listen to the music, so it can always accessible. So she said, I've seen most of the Disney musicals, haven't we all? I'm happy you guys got to talk about musicals. I was wondering when you guys were going to talk about Frozen being on Broadway, but I guess you guys are done talking about Frozen, even though it's still taking over with Olaf's Frozen Adventure and when Frozen 2 comes out, which the only reason I think we didn't talk about Frozen on Broadway, though.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I knew it was going to be a thing. It wasn't in the forefront of my mind.
I don't know if it's opened yet.
I'm not sure.
I don't think it has yet. As far as I know.
You think me being closest to Broadway and always getting the news about it, I would know, but I don't.
Yeah, well, if you haven't heard anything, then that's probably our indicator. Obviously, we could probably Google and double check, but as far as I know, it hasn't actually opened yet, as far as I know. So, but I'm sure the music will be amazing. So, because if you loved Let It Go in the animated film, I'm sure you're gonna love the Broadway version. So,
oh yes.
Real quick,
yeah,
I looked it up. It starts this month.
There you go.
22nd.
There you go.
Okay. So all you lucky Broadway people who get to go see things on Broadway, yay! Go get tickets.
Yeah. No. She also says, plus I'm getting excited for Mary Poppins Returns. Me too. Every time I see a sneak photo of it, it has a good cast, yes. She loves Lin-Manuel Miranda. She said, last thing I have seen a little bit of Little Shop of Horrors. It was on Hulu, but I've been so busy I didn't get a chance to watch it, and then they took it off, which, well, that's too bad.
It happens.
Yeah. such as it is. But yeah, so thank you for that feedback, Shalane. Well, now that I know Frozen opens up later this month, I can keep an eye out for the soundtrack.
Same here.
Yep. Yeah. At least listen to that was one thing I was going to mention, like just talking about musicals and the Disney ones especially, is, they have, Frozen has a great soundtrack, the movie already, but then when they do the Broadway versions, they always add to them, and, those songs turn out pretty good too, so.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely a fun
and even
little, so go ahead.
I was just going to say, even like the songs from the original movie, they even differ a little bit with the play, so you get to hear those differences.
Yep. All right, our next bit of feedback comes from Tony, our good friend over at Geeking in Indiana. So, he said, "Hey there, it's your friend Tony Troxel here to give thoughts on the latest episode about musicals. First off, listening to everyone talking about their high school auditions for musicals, I realized that my old high school only had one stage performance the entire time I was there. It was Godspell, and despite not being able to carry a tune in a bucket, I was part of the cast. I was just told to try not to sing too loud in the chorus and do funny voices and impressions for some of the scenes."
Could I get just interject in here? Sometimes when you're in high school performances, and especially if you have, Tony, I don't know how big your high school was, but mine was pretty small, and, they take whoever they can get to show up to practice.
Yeah.
So whether, if you can sing, great, but if you show up, you're golden.
Yeah.
I just remember that being a thing in high school.
Yeah. It's like when you're supposed to have a town full of people, and you've got like 3 people, that's not very impressive. So it's like Beauty and the Beast wouldn't be the same when Belle is strolling through the town if there was 2 people and a sheep. So
yeah,
sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. But anyway, I said, moving on to The Music Man. This is also one of my favorites. I knew we were friends for a reason, and I was very happy to note the absence of the Matthew Broderick version that came out in 2003. We don't talk about that. I would think
I pretend it doesn't exist, even though that was actually the first version I ever saw.
I'm sorry.
But then I saw the Robert Preston one. I'm like, that's much better.
Yeah. So you would think that the person who played Ferris Bueller would pull off a great Professor Harold Hill, but sadly the phoned-in performance really brings that version down. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you just hold on to the Robert Preston version and ignore this one. Good advice.
Yes.
Next up, Spamalot. I had the opportunity to catch this at the Mural in Indianapolis back in 2007. I think that's about right, 2007-ish. That's when I saw it the first time. It had actually slipped out of my mind until I heard Rachel talking about it and turned on the cast recording as soon as I was done with the episode. I listened to it the very next day. Thank you, Rachel, for getting He Is Not Dead Yet stuck in my head again. I thought I'd shaken that earworm back in 2009. You're welcome.
You will never be free of it.
I have had the song that goes like this in my head since we recorded last week. So I've listened to the cast recording twice. Just in the past week. It's amazing. Next up is a fun fact about Rock of Ages. Chris Hardwick played the lead out in Los Angeles before it moved to Broadway. Don't ask how I know this, but here's a source I found for you.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a link to an article on the Nerdist about Chris Hardwick playing Stacey Jackson. So, another bit of randomness about Rent. The 14-year-old was listening to Let It Go, so to blow her mind, I turned on La Vie Boheme and just really started messing with her. Hear that voice? That's Lieutenant Stamets. Oh, that woman? Yep, that's Elsa. Oh, and hear him? That's Joe from The Flash. She didn't believe me at first.
Yep.
I remember getting really excited when I started watching Flash. I'm like, I know him from Rent.
I'm like, yeah, I know him from Rent, and I love him from Law and Order.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It's the quintessential, hey, it's that guy trope.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
I love that trope.
Yep.
I get
Best
really
trope
excited.
ever.
He's like, I know I've seen you somewhere off in the end, but I go, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The show on mainlining right now does that a lot. Like, oh my god, I know that poster from.
Yep. Let's see. Finally, a bit of regional information about Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's obviously, Tony's in Indiana. So, as someone who's seen it over 100 times in the mid to late 90s in Anderson Speedway and multiple sci-fi conventions, I have thrown much rice and have yelled profanities at a movie screen more than any sane person should. Here in Indianapolis, look up the Midnight Movie at the Irving Theater. Next showing is February 10th, I believe. So he said, "Thanks for a great episode, even if it's missing the producers."
I know. I thought about the producers after we ended, and I was like, dang it, I missed the producers.
Yeah.
But yes, producers is excellent.
Yes, it is.
No matter what version you get.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to sound like a bad musical fan. I've not seen the producers.
It depends on what you because there's the old movie version.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually is that the one with Gene Wilder?
Yeah, the one with Gene Wilder.
Yep.
Okay.
And
then there's the remake with Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick, and a blink and you miss him, John Barrowman.
Yeah, he plays one of the Nazis during Springtime for Hitler.
Yep.
Look it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yes.
Let's see, and that's a very Uma Thurman's in that one too, isn't she? The one with Nathan Lane.
I believe so. So.
So, let's see. And our last bit of feedback comes from Kevin, my good friend Kevin, fellow Disney fan, and also one of the hosts of True North Nerds podcast, which I've mentioned a couple of times. So, I said, long-time listener, first-time commenter here. First-time public commenter. He messages me on Facebook all the time with comments, but first time sharing feedback, I guess. As someone who's performed in over 20 musicals and has seen many more than that, I love the discussion on this episode. I love many of the shows on your list, including Spamalot. I played Sir Robin in a local production, and Little Shop of Horrors. I played Mushnik just last spring. Here's a short list of some of my favorites. The Full Monty, based on the movie. The setting was moved to Buffalo and follows the exploits of 5 unemployed steelworkers who decide to bear it all for ladies in order to make a few dollars. The show is surprisingly heartfelt and has some beautiful music. Evil Dead, the musical, again based on the movie. This was a hilarious, gory, profane, silly romp of a show. I don't love horror movies and was very nervous the first time I saw it. But by the time the fountain of blood erupted in Act 2 and the people in the splatter zone were covered in stage blood, I was laughing hysterical and having the time of my life. The 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, a show where the line between audience and actors is blurred. The whole show takes place during the Spelling Bee. Adults play the kids in the bee. The audience members also become contestants. I will never forget how to spell Hassan Pfeffer because of this show. The Drowsy Chaperone, a truly meta-musical. This one has a narrator who plays the cast album of his favorite 1920s musical. As the record plays, the show unfolds in his apartment. The show is a comic romp and uses its gimmick to some genius effects, like when the record skips, so does the cast. Cool.
Nice.
Cool.
Come From Away, the newest show on my list. I saw this in previews in Toronto before it moved to Broadway. This is the story of the airplanes that got redirected to Gander, Newfoundland on September 11th, 2001. It is a story of everyday heroism and both touching and fun. It is a score full of East Coast Canadian folk sounds and a cast of 12 who play multiple parts, both the townspeople and the Come From Aways. I listen to this cast album at least once a week. So finally, my favorite show I've ever been in is Urinetown. Set in the future where there's been a terrible drought, in order to save water, private bathrooms have been outlawed and everyone must line up and pay their coins at the public amenities. When the corrupt corporation that runs the toilets, the Urine Good Company, raises the rates, a champion rises from the masses and starts a revolution. A commentary on corporate greed, a parody of other musicals, and hilarious comedy. Urinetown has it all. Except maybe a good title.
Yeah.
So there you have it. 6 shows you may not have heard of, but that I love. Love your show. Kevin.
And I have to agree about the movie The Full Monty. It is absolutely hilarious. It has a young Robert Carlyle in it, if you're wondering.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack is good.
Yeah. So.
I mean, Joel Cocker, Free Ride. So, yeah. Yeah, Drew Carey even made a little bit of a spin-off, a little nod to it in one episode of his show when the Full Monty was big. Look up Drew Carey courtroom scene. I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you everyone for sending your feedback. I was pleasantly surprised when the feedback kept rolling in.
Well, I mean,
wow.
And that's the thing about musicals is we touched on last week is, you know, most people have been in them, even if it's just, you know, high school or community theater or things like that. So, you know, it makes sense that people would be all, that we'd all be like, hey, what's this? You know, this is my favorite show, or this is what I've been in, or I know that one, and different things like that. So, yeah,
and yeah.
Cool.
We all have a connection to musicals, even if it's just a little one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's move on to this week's topic. Since it's on a mini hiatus, we thought we would catch up with Coulson and crew and see how they've been doing in the future, and not too well.
But do we expect anything else?
Well,
really?
yes.
Yeah, for sure.
There's there, especially this last episode, the Facebook chat was a lot of this show. Oh my God, this show. And a lot of shocked and surprised faces emojis. So
yes.
Oh my goodness, where do we start?
Let's see. Fitz is back.
Yes, Fitz is back.
Yay!
The team has been reunited,
Fitz,
which is
I missed
good.
you.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they are back in present. I'm using air quotes here, so because we don't know exactly where they landed as far as coming back to present. So again, air quotes.
And the way that cliffhanger ended, like we don't even know if all of them.
If all you have to do is watch the preview, you can see.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But never mind then.
Yeah. The preview kind of like kills the cliffhanger because you can see everyone. So
it's kind of like, you know how in the first season of New Doctor Who they had the cliffhanger, and then the next time trailer spoiled the heck out of everything, and everyone got mad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. So.
And then there was the marriage proposal.
Yes. So yeah, good old ship Fitzsimmons.
Yes. And
can
we just appreciate Fitz showing up as a bounty hunter type of guy? And, taking no prisoners.
Bamf,
being,
it's like Bamf
awesome.
Fitz.
Yeah. Exactly. And he can play it well. It's just like, okay, well, I don't want to cross him now. He can get scary when he gets silent.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I guess when you've been cryogenically frozen for almost 80 years, you got a lot of time to think about what you're going to do.
He's like, how am I going to do all this?
Yeah, so.
You should hang out with he and Captain America in that exclusive club now.
Yeah, really. So if he and Steve Rogers ever cross paths, it's going to be like, yeah, frozen for several decades. I know what that's like.
This is what you do when you're bored and you're sitting in there.
Apparently, so. But, okay, so I know it's, speaking of the Fitzsimmons proposal, which, first off, adorable, because they see each other, but they can't act like they know each other, and Simmons has got that slug thing in her ear, so she's, unless Cassius turns it off, she's completely deaf. So Fitz is like, telling how much he missed her and how much he loves her. And he proposes, and then she doesn't say anything in return because he doesn't realize that she can't
I know.
hear him.
Oh, gross.
And I'm sitting here going like, no, and then he turns on Kazayas and says, your slave won't talk to me, or she won't follow my orders, and he's like, respond. And he's like, well, yeah, they only respond to me, and then Fitz gets even more upset.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do to my Gemma?
Yeah. But then they go through this whole thing, and at the end, Simmons proposes to Fitz, and he's like, I proposed to you first. She's like, well, it doesn't count. It's like, they're so adorable, and I love the fact that this moment that we've been waiting on since pretty much day one, when Fitzsimmons was like, people thought they were
they introduced them as Fitzsimmons.
Since day one, and good ship Fitzsimmons left the dock and started sailing. We finally get this moment where Fitzsimmons want to commit to each other and want to get married, and I'm so glad that Clark Gregg was the person to direct this episode.
Yes.
So, if anyone was going to direct the episode where Fitzsimmons finally get engaged, it should be one of their own.
Yep.
So, cool. And it was a really good episode too. Yeah. It was a really good episode too, though, with the trying to stage the coup inside the battle arena with Daisy and everything, and Clark did a really good job directing that episode. So, so good ship Fitzsimmons still sailing on, regardless of what may happen in the future. So here's the thing with this whole thing, with. Now that we've gotten to this point where they've gotten the monolith to send them back to at least when Earth is in one piece. At what point in his, how far back they managed to go, we don't know yet until it returns in March. So a month from now. So we just know that they went back after the time when the Daisy LMD shot Talbot. We know that much. But beyond that, we don't know where exactly they landed. Which will make it really easy to explain how they'll have no idea what happened in Infinity War, probably. If they came back to Earth before it got destroyed, but after everything with an Infinity War, there you go. Easy to explain away how they have no idea. But we'll see. But we got this whole thing with Robin, which that was a nice callback to a couple seasons ago with Robin and her having a similar ability to her father, being able to, he could see people's death, quote unquote death. Robin can kind of see, she's kind of like the Doctor in a way, because she can see everything that ever was, anything that possibly could happen, but it's all jumbled in her head and she can't articulate it, what she's seeing. So we get this one episode where we're getting present day with old Robin, but then we're seeing flashbacks, I guess, possibly, but it hasn't happened for Coulson and crew yet, so they're kind of flashbacks, but not really. It's very wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey is the thing with what's going on right here. So we see this at least this one particular timeline where they do go back, meet up with Robin as a child. May ends up like pseudo-adopting her and helping to raise her. And then they're trying to come up with the tech that will go into the Quinjet that they find once they're in the future, but they've already been to the future. It's very Bootstrap Paradox is what it is. And I'm kind of glad that was a thing that was covered in Doctor Who recently. So if you watch Doctor Who, with Peter Capaldi and them trying to, his kind of explanation with what was it, Mozart or Beethoven?
I think so. One of the two.
One of the two.
Because it was him playing his guitar.
Yeah. The whole idea that, you know, was Beethoven or Mozart, if they heard, you know, their music and then wrote it down, is it their music because they heard it? Look up Bootstrap Paradox if you don't know what we're talking about here. It'll kind of hurt your head when you think about it. And that's kind of where we are, because especially in this last episode where Cassius, we find out Cassius has a seer, quote-unquote seer, but it turns out it's Yo-Yo. But it's a Yo-Yo that's already been through everything, has died and been brought back, and supposedly, because we see Tess died several episodes ago, and then she got brought back. Supposedly Cassius is using the Tahiti protocol. I don't think that was ever is what he was using to bring people like Tess back. But, you know, Yo-Yo meets herself. This Yo-Yo that's already been through everything has died, has been brought back multiple times, has been tortured. She doesn't have any hands anymore. And she tells the Yo-Yo that's whole that they've tried things, but they keep failing, and the Earth still gets destroyed, and she still ends up here. So it's like after the fact, I was almost like, okay, so the timeline that we've been watching, is this not the first one? Or is this the first one? But if it's the first one, then how does the older Yo-Yo end up there if this is their first go-round? It's like...
Right. Well, and she's even... And the older version of Yo-Yo is even really leery even to bring up Mac's name because of what went down.
Because it's
that tells you something right there.
Well, and then Fitz and Simmons, I went in trying to figure out how to get the Zephyr going again, and they realized that the technology is technology that Fitz had already designed, but hadn't been able to get it to work. But at some point, they obviously figured out how to get it to work, and you could just see on Fitz and Simmons' face, like, the timey-wiminess is, like, in their eyes. It's like, wait, so something that I designed that doesn't work, at some point we go back and I figure out how to make it work so that now it works now. It's like we know it'll work when we go back because we've already seen it work. It's like Harry Potter with the Patronus. He's like, I knew I could do it because I'd already seen myself do it.
It's like when did they actually say Buckbeak?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Exactly. So it's like, if you think about it too much, you'll make your head hurt.
Yes, so don't think about it too much. Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
Yep. Yes, smile, nod, and wave.
Yeah. But I guess the biggest thing is when Yo-Yo is talking to Yo-Yo. You know, she's being very vague about what she says to the younger Yo-Yo. But I guess when it all comes down to it, we're starting to get some more information on how exactly the Earth got quaked apart in the first place. And supposedly something happens, and which we don't know all the details yet, of course. Keep us coming back. At least for that Yo-Yo, the older Yo-Yo in the loop that she's in, is they tried to save Coulson, because at this point Coulson is dying, which don't do that to me. Those two words don't go together in a sentence. Coulson's already died and come back. We don't need to be playing with Coulson in death again. Don't do that. But anyway, supposedly Coulson is dying, and in the process of them trying to save him, it destroys the world, which why everything has to fall on Coulson's shoulders again. It's not fair. It's like what was I saying? That I think I was saying to you guys when we were just like chatting, doing the MCU rewatch right now, and this week is the Avengers, so Coulson, I get to watch Coulson die, but it's not so bad because I know he comes back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's like, it's just a flesh wound. You'll be okay, Coulson. Rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine. Shake it off. But now they're like, so many years after the fact, and now they're throwing this in there that, yeah, Coulson's dying. I'm like, no, you can't kill Coulson. Can't do that. So, my little heart can't take it. So, but I don't know. The thing is, it's like part of me is still convinced that Daisy is not the one that quakes the world apart. Somehow, I don't know how, but I think somehow Flint has to be involved. That's the only thing that makes sense. I'm not entirely sure how, but the fact that he can manipulate rocks. But I think it's maybe a combination of the two of them. It's not just Daisy, but through.
Well, because I was watching the episode, where she's in the arena and she's fighting, the to show off for everybody, and they're like, "Oh, you've got the destroyer." And it's so impressive and all these things. And I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, she's holding her own, and she does pretty well in that fight, and, they get away. But her power isn't that great. I mean, obviously don't know exactly how it happens. Mm-hmm. But I just was waiting for them in the audience in the fight to be like, how did she do that? How did she destroy the earth or quaked it apart? And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to that point.
Oh, yeah.
As the season progresses, but I was just kind of waiting for someone in the audience, watching this fight to... But it never happened, and then Fitz came out and saved the day, and he got Gemma and Daisy out, so it was all good.
Yeah. And can we, speaking of Fitz, can we go back to the episode focusing on what happens to Fitz after the team gets taken and the return of Lance Hunter?
I loved that episode. Yes. Oh my gosh, I loved that episode. All the times they referred to Bobby, and it was like, yeah, she's off being first officer on a starship.
She's in space too.
Different version of it.
I loved Fitz and Hunter together. Oh my goodness. Those two.
TV to watch so you can watch football, soccer, and
footy.
And they give it, the footy.
Mm-hmm.
And all of his angry fan letters were really coded messages to Hunter. And they get in a fight about their sports teams. I'm like, you guys, you're so British.
Yeah. Then they have to go. They have to go and sneak into the military base, and they use ferrets as a distraction.
And it makes it look like the crate of ferrets is like this big, nasty weapon, and something bad's gonna happen, and they just let ferrets loose.
Oh my goodness. I love those two.
Right?
There's good callbacks to a lot of things, the return of Robin Hinton and her mother for a short while. Gravitonium, hello, that's really calling back all the way back to season 1.
Yep.
Which, that's going to be important, I'm sure. Not just, them getting the Zephyr off of the, off of its little graveyard where it had been sitting for the last 80 years, almost 80 years. It's interesting. It's very interesting. not to toot my own horn, but I've been sometimes with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see where they're going. This, I have no idea.
Same here.
Honestly, I have no idea how this is going to play out, and to what end. Those flashback memories that we saw of Robin's, are they of the time? Is every if there have been multiple loops at this point, and we just kind of jumped into a loop, not realizing that there have been loops before it. If what we saw is every loop been exactly the same, or have they deviated somewhat, so what we saw is a loop that we won't see again? Probably not. It'll probably end up playing out similar to what we saw, just so they can mess with us, probably. Especially with Fitz getting upset every other flashback going, she keeps saying Simmons is gonna die, and it's like, and something happens to Mac at some point, and we don't see Coulson in any of those flashbacks.
Other than the fact that the yo-yo says he's going to die, and then we get the shot of him adjusting his shirt and seeing this red stuff.
Yeah. Stuff
start veining on his chest. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. I have no idea what's going to happen. And part of that is exciting.
But you think he'd be immune to because of the Tahiti stuff, but then who knows?
Yeah, say he's got the same drug that they used on Daisy, but he's not inhuman. Daisy is. So maybe that has something to do with it. Is it purely because of the because it's from the fight that they'd had, and he got hit and Daisy got hit. And they were like, are you okay? And Daisy's like, yeah, it's just a scratch. And Coulson's like, me too. Terrible shot, that sort of thing. Is that where it's from?
This is as good as mine.
Okay. I think that's probably what it was. Is he got shot by, one of the Kree when they were trying to make their way to the meeting, the rendezvous point for the monolith. But, is it purely that, or is it also maybe a slow side effect from being stabbed by Loki because of the Infinity Stone that was inside the staff? Could that have something to do with it? So it's like, I don't know.
Unless the Tahiti thing that he went through has a certain time span, and that time span is now running out.
Right, I don't know.
I'm just spitballing here.
I know. I said that's what we're all doing. Is we're all just kind of spitballing, and now it's on this. Now it's on this mini hiatus, and it comes back a month from now, and when it comes back, that'll be episode 99, and then the episode after that is episode 100, and they haven't really said a whole lot about episode 100, but the few things they have said, they said it's pretty much going to blow everybody's mind.
Great, blow our minds how?
Yeah, exactly.
In the feels, or blow our minds in the wibbly wobbly, tiny whiny?
I don't know.
And reminder, this is a Whedon project we are talking about.
Yeah, well, it's a Whedon. It's on Friday nights at a later time. I mean, some of the things that have happened we would not have seen if this was on Tuesdays at 8:00.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been kind of brutal, although as brutal as it was, I've got to give Fitz credit for the I don't know what you want to call that, the head slicing.
Yeah.
The Kree. It just wait, and then 3 Kree heads just fall to the floor, and I'm like, dang, Fitz.
Exactly. Right. Yep.
Note to yourself.
Don't take him up.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I saw that and I was like, whoa. I'm like, oh right, this is on Friday nights at later time, huh?
Mm-hmm. But still, it's like, dang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if it was so much the what it was done or if it was by whom had done it. If May had done that, or Mac maybe, it'd have been like, okay, yeah, I could see that. But the fact that it was Fitz.
True. The Fitz that we were used to that wasn't locked up in that. So, reading that one sporting magazine, you know, going through all that, we're thinking of the tender-hearted, shy Fitz of the first 3 seasons.
Yeah, well, and then also, because I think they touched on it a little bit in the Fitz episode, but they didn't really go too far into it, is, you know, he still feels really guilty about what happened in the
framework.
Now I'm blanking. Yeah, framework. Thank you. I was like, not LMD. That thing. And, you know, how he's like, he's thinking, I am capable of these terrible things, and I feel so guilty. But rather than have him wallow in it, he's using that anger and that energy toward, you know, rescuing his friends. And yeah, he has to be, or he becomes
bad,
really a tough guy.
Yeah, little bamf.
Right. Yep.
Wow. It's like, yeah, that's not the quiet and reserved Fitz of old.
Which when you saw him walking in with the full leather outfit, you kind of figured, okay.
Yeah.
Which I guess if he had to go that route after the framework and everything, I'm glad they went this way and not, you know, have him be in constant pity party mode, because that was annoying.
That's true.
Yeah.
But no, this is good. As far as storytelling character goes, I approve.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull myself up by my bootstraps and take this pity party and change it into ire that I let it get to me, and to paraphrase, let it go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll take it. Oliver Queen, take note.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
One man pity
Bad
party.
things happen. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. So you can feel sorry for yourself or pull up your big boy pants and do something for the better. So.
Indeed.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
We say about every show that we watch.
Well, yeah, but this one's, especially with everything that's happening, is, you know, kind of the thing. It's like, you know, considering what's going on in the overall MCU.
We don't know how much is set up for the movies and how much isn't.
Yeah. So it's like, what's gonna happen? You know, is it gonna connect? Is it not? Or we don't know. So, and it's scary and exciting and. How many episodes are in the season?
Just a second, let me check.
It's usually 22 or 23, somewhere in there.
Yeah, usually about that range.
But it could you know, fluctuate depending on how many episodes the network orders.
Yeah. Well, there were 22 last season.
Yeah.
So, and if we stick to the same, when it comes back next month, because it's only out for the month. So when it comes back, if it's not, if there aren't any more breaks, then it will go through Infinity War. So, because it should be on about episode 20 when Infinity War drops. So, who knows? I guess we'll see. So,
they have it going for 22 episodes according to IMDb.
Okay, so that does put us through Infinity War. So, we'll We'll see. Because we still got to figure out what exactly happened that possibly could cause the Earth to get destroyed and how they're going to fix it. I mean, are they going to fix it on the first try? Or are we going to have to go through this again? In some form or fashion, another loop, multiple loops. Maybe we'll do like a montage type thing. Are we going to learn more about some of these people that we met at the lighthouse? Folks like Flint, who, the speculation that he's Mac and Yo-Yo's like grandson, along with what's his face? Crap, I can't think of his name. The Peter Quill type character. Oh crap! You think
There's a lot of like new characters.
There are, and there's interesting names too. Is the thing. So, Deke. So the people are speculating that Deke is Fitzsimmons' grandson. Which, if that's the case, he did not inherit the science brain.
You comment on that?
Yeah.
In the chat, but like it's funny because I hadn't seen any of those fan theories.
Yeah.
So I was like, huh.
Yeah. So, well, I guess we'll find out. Hopefully, probably. So
maybe.
And I don't, and then there's still that whole deal with a Ghost Rider that Coulson made last season that may or may not come into play at some point.
Ooh, that could be the dying thing.
I don't
maybe
know.
Related to?
Or that may be the thing that saves him.
Ooh.
No, I don't know. So, all I know is I do not want Coulson to die. You could not kill Phil Coulson. It can't, no. I will have words with someone. I'm not quite sure who. His last name's probably going to be Whedon.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you can't kill Coulson.
You thought Tony Stark was ticked off when Coulson disappeared the first time.
There will be a general howl of stress coming from the Indianapolis area.
Yes.
Followed by many profanities.
Yeah.
Yes.
Directed at Whedon, Feige, and whoever else.
Cap, we're apologizing right now in case this happens.
Yeah, just wherever you are in Wakanda, just cover your ears and pretend you didn't hear anything that came out of my mouth.
Although he may have other things to worry about.
Well, yes, that's true. So anyway, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Big old pile of timey-wimey feels.
And it's been a lot of fun. Definitely different. I like that they're doing this different, time loop in space sort of thing. So it could have been, this is the thing about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is it could have been, hashtag more of the same. But they've done some really cool things with it, with between framework, LMDs, and now this season with what's going on here. So I give them kudos for that as well.
Oh yeah,
because it keeps you guessing every week what kind of an episode we're gonna get.
Yeah.
What kind of episode? What kind of season? When the season started, what's going on? What's all gonna happen? And now I know a little more, but we're still I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Wait, watch and find out.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a lot of I don't. Like, I'm just gonna sit here and find out with the rest of y'all.
Much, yeah.
But
anyway,
but it's on hiatus for the next month ish.
Don't even know why. Like
the Olympics, maybe.
I mean, the Olympics.
Although the Olympics are on NBC, but maybe they just don't want to compete.
I think that's what it is. I think they just don't want to compete and have the ratings be affected. So, because I mean, really, the American people, we all obviously vary in our tastes and beliefs, and this is a melting pot, this country, and some people want to watch the Super Bowl, and some people just want to watch superhero movies. But dang it, when the Olympics come on, everyone's like, they've got their favorite sport, but we all seem to come together and be like curling, ice skating, ski jumping, in this case because it's Winter Olympics. But
well, it's like figure skating has its fans, but it's not a big mainstream sport. But when the Olympics come around, everybody watches the figure skating.
I used to be obsessed with the figure skating on Olympics. The only thing I would watch when I was really little.
So, but it should be fun. So anyway, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is great. The Olympics are great. Everything's great. More or less.
More or less. Until Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back, and then we'll see how I'm doing emotionally. So.
Yes. Exactly. So, are we ready to close out then, or?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I think so. All right, didn't want to step Dave, but if any of our listeners wanted to chime in about anything about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or we want to have another round of musical themed feedback, we'll welcome that as well. You can send any and all feedback you may have to our email address, which is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also reach us through our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com. There we'll have links for all of our social media outlets. Facebook and Instagram and YouTube seem to be the ones where we get the most comments, which we are always grateful for. So thank you all for that. And we have other social media things, but those are the ones that get used the most, it seems. And you can also download us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and through our website. There's download links, and you can listen to us on YouTube and rate us on all those places. And then also, if you would like to support us in a financial way, you may do so through our Patreon account or through our Amazon store. Or we also have a T-shirt shop. That's on the website now. Yes. Okay, so go forth, and you may purchase 5-ish Fangirls T-shirts and show your fangirl pride. I'm being silly, but anyway. But thank you all for buying a T-shirt, or through sending us feedback, or just liking our stuff on Facebook, or even just listening. It's fun to know we have listeners, and you guys are great. And wish I could give you all a big hug, but an internet one will have to do. So consider yourself hugged or high-fived, whichever you prefer.
Or fist bump.
Fist bump. Or even just wave from across the crowded room. I'm waving to you. Thank you all for being our audience.
Absolutely. So. Cool. Alrighty then. So with that, I guess we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany in space saying good night, even though it's always night. Sorry.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City, which is in space, and it is nighttime here, saying good night.
This is how I've been discussed in space, where it's night and good evening.
This is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana, and yep, it's dark outside.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.